11th Hour Audio presents Creature Feature of the Month with your master of frights, Owen McEwen.
Greetings, listeners, and thank you for joining us at the 11th hour. Greetings, listeners. This next story is something a little different. It began as a piece of artwork. Artist and illustrator Vince Dorse has created a poster that's laid out in a kind of narrative timeline. To showcase the poster, Vince has crafted a video that details his art process and contains a narrative version of the abridged tale, guiding the viewer through the stunning visuals. So why are we sharing it here? Well, the story is a classic piece of American horror. We're certain you'll recognize it. And it's narrated and sound designed by yours truly, with help from the Uber Duo Horsin' Around sound effects pack. Check the show notes for links to the video and Vince's shop in case you'd like a poster for yourself. Now, button up your coats against the chill and journey with us to the quaint little town of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod Crane's Journey Through Sleepy Hollow. Inspired by the tale by Washington Irving. Illustrations by Vince Dorse. Deep in the Hudson Valley, along the banks of the Tappan Zee, and just beyond the village of Tarrytown, there is a shadowy glen known to the residents there as Sleepy Hollow. And into this drowsy little hamlet one autumn day wandered an itinerant schoolmaster by the name of Ichabod Crane. Tall and exceedingly lank, Ichabod was well-read, cultured, and could hold forth on subjects both worldly and otherworldly. As Ichabod made himself at home in the hollow, he grew acquainted with its many inhabitants, such as Katrina Van Tassel, the town beauty, and her boisterous suitor, Abraham Van Brunt, known to the locals at the tavern as Brom Bones.
I don't like the looks of that one.
Ichabod spent his mornings imparting wisdom and warnings to the town's school children, and whiled away his twilights dreaming up ways to win the hand of the fair Katrina. But his nights were spent hurrying through the dark countryside, jumping at the sound of every tree, toad, and screech owl, and always looking over his shoulder for the town's resident spirit, the ghost of the Headless Horseman. But nothing could keep him home on All Hallows' Eve, the night of the Van Tassel's harvest celebration. Even superstitious Ichabod would brave a headless ghost for the warmth of community, the bounty of the fall feast, and a chance to dance with Katrina. And dance they did, with great enthusiasm, much to the consternation of Brom Bones, who had grown weary of the gangly schoolmaster and suspicious of his intentions with his Katrina. And so Brom devised a plan. When the guests all gathered round the hearth at midnight for hot cider and ghost stories, Brom spun a tale about the Headless Horseman so terrifying that you could hear Ichabod's knees knocking from across the room. This, of course, made Ichabod's ride home through the dark even more chilling. Trembling from the October cold, as well as his dread over the long journey home through the shadowy woods, Ichabod was suddenly aware of another rider on the path.
Who's there?
As he approached and passed the mysterious rider, he realized with a start that it was the Headless Horseman himself, rearing up on his black steed, holding his own head aloft, and cackling like a mad ghoul. Ichabod spurred his borrowed horse, Gunpowder, urging it to run faster, trying to escape the spirit, but the ghost gave chase. At every turn, Ichabod could hear the ghost's laughter and the heavy hooves of its horse thundering on the path just behind him. As the tree line broke and the moon illuminated his path, Ichabod remembered part of Brom's tale, that if one could cross the bridge by the old Dutch church before the horseman laid his hands upon you, you might just live to see the morning. And so Ichabod yelled and flailed atop Gunpowder, making haste for the bridge. But the horseman, perhaps knowing his intentions, hurled his disembodied head at Ichabod, cackling with terrifying delight. The next morning, After Ichabod's borrowed plow horse found its way back to its owner, the townsfolk went searching for the schoolmaster. But all they could find, at the far end of the bridge by the old Dutch church, were the pedagogue's hat and the remnants of a shattered jack-o'-lantern. And that is the tale of Ichabod Crane and his journey into, through, and finally out of Sleepy Hollow.